Well, it's so good to have Ross on. Hey, how you doing today, Ross?
I am 10 out of 10. Really excited to be here.
Well, it's good to be there. I'll be here with you. I
Yeah.
like to ask my guests a question to kind of get to know you a little bit better and a kind of a warm up question, although some people say it's not really a warm up question. But what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Best piece of advice I ever received when I was about 18 years old. I was a little lost trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. I started out thinking I was going to be a professional BMX rider, had a really bad injury, and had to redefine who I was. Um, Long story short, I sat down. This is kind of pre-internet, with maybe 2000-ish, give or take a year, or maybe even a little before that. I sat down with the most successful people I could, and I asked them, if you were my age, knowing everything you know now, what would you do? And I asked many different people this question, and the advice I got was buy real estate and travel. I
Wow.
mean, think about this. If you buy real estate when you're really young, if you had bought every house you could when you were 18, 19 years old, where would you be today? And
Right.
traveling when you're young is a lot different than traveling once you have responsibilities, other than just survival. So that was some good advice. And I followed that to a T. I started virtually investing in real estate, traveling all around the world, kind of opening my eyes, getting out of the bubble that the United States puts around you, and it really opened up my mind and helped me make a lot of money because I got into real estate. Did my first house when I was still 18 years old.
Wow. I'm always curious about people on their journey. Who are some people along the way who serve to inspire you?
Oh man, you know my competition.
Okay.
Um, I wouldn't have said that maybe a few years ago. But when I've been looking back over my life and my business career, and I recently had a huge exit, it was really my competition that drove me to be better. Call them like a nemesis or whatever it might be. Just that thorn in your side, right? Um, that was part of that. There was a lot of motivation there for me. Now, don't get me wrong. I had some fabulous mentors in my life. I always surrounded myself with people that were uh, light years ahead of where I was, and their help has been instrumental. Um, but I just wanted to really touch on how important it is to have a competitor and to have people that you're competing with, whether it's directly in a positive way, in a co-opetition way. There's all sorts of different ways to have other people help you get the best out of yourself.
Love that. So tell us your journey. We talked a little bit about the BMX thing, but give us the rest of your story.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I started riding BMX at a very young age, and then I was very fortunate. We had Dave Mira, who is like the Michael Jordan of BMX, moved to my town and open up a skate park when he was still under the radar. He wasn't, X Games was just kind of coming out, really. He wasn't mainstream. He was just a normal guy that was really good at riding bikes that wanted to build a skate park. I got to hang out with him. I got to help him build his skate park. I was his employee for a short period of time. Wasn't a very good employee. That's another podcast. But I got to spend time with this individual, and without even knowing what the word mentor was, he was my first mentor. And what he did for me, without even knowing he was my mentor, or officially coaching me, is he made the impossible possible. He would do tricks that I did not think were possible earlier that day. So what that started to do was it started to help me condition my mind to what was possible and help me break through some of those limiting beliefs. Because in extreme sports or business or just survival in the corporate jungle, there is um, most of the obstacles are between your own ears. You can find things that symbolize them that are in the real world, but it always really comes down to you and what you're going to do about it and how you're going to react. And having Dave Mira as someone I would ride with, it brought other great people into town because they wanted to be around him. So I started riding with Dave, and I got really, really good very quickly, just by being around him. I was okay, and then I went to competing at a semi-professional level in just a few short years, until I had a little accident, and I twisted my ankle so far it broke my leg. I could feel the weight of my foot on my skin, which, sorry
Oh,
for the graphic exclamation. Yeah, it was one of those moments I'll never forget, and it put me out of competition status for a long time. And when I came back, I was kind of at that pivotal age to where I had to either double down on BMX, or figure out what I wanted to do when I grew up, which ties us back to what I was talking about earlier. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was broken physically, mentally a little bit, because my whole identity was around BMX, and also financially. So, starting off with nothing makes it easy to risk it all, right?
right.
And yeah, and I just started talking to people and trying to surround myself with other Dave Miras, with other people that were where I wanted to be. And, and I found real estate at a very young age. I went from doing flips on my bike to flipping houses, and it became everything I was doing. Back, how you do anything, Keith, is how you do everything, right? When I
Right.
rode BMX, if you didn't ride bikes, I didn't really have much to talk to you about. I'm not the most intelligent individual. I have just the right amount of intelligence to where if I focus all of it, I can do really well, but I can't do a lot of things at once. So once I started investing in real estate, that was it. That was who I was. I was a real estate investor. I was going to make it one way or another. It didn't matter. I didn't have any money or connections or experience. I was going to go get all those things, and I did, and I did very well within a few year period of time. Anything takes 3-ish years to start unfolding, and I was able to, in my early 20s, have almost 50 properties, 50 rentals that were covering my expenses. Now, don't get me wrong, Keith. I was, robbing Peter to pay Paul in a lot of the scenarios where I was flipping houses, but I needed a new AC over here and I had credit card debt. So there was a lot of shuffling around, but I was able to build a lot of net worth very quickly through real estate and reach kind of phase one of financial freedom, being I didn't have to work to survive. Now my expenses were low, right? The house I was living in, I rented out a garage apartment and 2 bedrooms because I was in college, and I was making $600 a month living at my house. And then I had a few other rentals that were starting to add up. Some were upside down, some were good. I was learning, but I was able to kind of break through and say, okay, great, Ross, I don't have to go get a job. I can just kind of keep building off of this. And that's what I did. I'll take a breath here, but yeah, that's how I went from BMX to real estate.
Awesome. There are a lot of people right now who are trying to figure out how they can break through. Some of them are just kind of trapped in this financial whirlwind where they just can't seem to get their head out above water. If you had some advice or some do's and don'ts about real estate for somebody who's like, I've been thinking about getting into this, but I want to know, I don't know where to start. I don't know what I should be looking for, what I should avoid. What are some best practices you've learned from your experience in dealing with real estate?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And I'll answer that in a few different ways. First and foremost, it's kind of like planting a tree, right? When's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the second
Right.
best time? Today. It's the same thing with real estate. So now is a good time. Things are there's market timing with real estate, and that did play a decent role in some of my success. But you have to be in the game to win. And my brother is buying his first house like right now. He's texting me. We're working through some different strategies for him to get the best deal. But I told them, I'm like, buy this house. Eventually it will be a rental. Go buy another house. Do that 3 or 4 times, and then you'll have your retirement. Right? Real estate, it's so risky not to have real estate in today's world. I mean, the big corporations are coming in and trying to take it over. The day of the mom and pop real estate investor is limited. So the time is, the time is now to get into real estate. So first you just have to, really make up your mind that you're gonna do it. You're gonna figure it out. There's a lot of different strategies. There's a lot of different ways to get in. And Keith, because when I started, the internet wasn't what it was today. I only had 3 channels on my TV. So I just picked one and went with it. In real estate, there's so many channels that picking one is where people seem to get lost. Do I want to do land? Do I want to do multifamily? Do I want to do commercial? Do I want to do fix and flip, wholesale? What's this other thing called? That seems easy. So it's really important to kind of pick your lane. Now, the lane that I picked is I just got really, really good at finding properties that could be purchased at a discount. I know it sounds, I didn't worry about the property type. I didn't worry about the price range. I was looking for creative ways to find properties that were mostly not listed on the MLS that could be purchased at a discount. And I just got really good at that because my real estate mentor told me, if the deal is good, money will never be a problem. And I latched onto that because I didn't have any money and money was a problem. So the way that money wouldn't be a problem is I had to find a good real estate deal. And that still rings true today. If you have a crappy real estate deal, a retail for a real estate investor, that's not a great deal. If you have a retail deal, money is an issue because there's risk associated with it. If the market crashes or corrects, you're underwater instantly. If you can go out and buy Apple stock today at 30% discount, how much would you buy? As much as you could, right? So if you can find real estate at a discount or have real estate pay for itself through rentals, then it's really important to kind of to make that happen for you. People do a lot more work for a lot less reward. It's really the best use of your time, energy, and effort is to figure out that strategy and do it. Don't overwhelm yourself. Just get one property over the next 12 months. Even if it's a piece of land you pay $5,000 for, you've just planted a seed. You have options now, right? And then just slowly kind of keep adding on little by little. And that's what I tell all the people I love and care about. If they need to have if they're working toward retirement, the sooner you get into real estate, the better. Because a lot of us are going to be taking care of our parents or taking care of our kids, one way or another. That's what I'm seeing happening with families. Everyone's kind of moving in together because of real estate prices. So you can really benefit from it. But the first decision has to come between your ears. Like, Keith, when I got in, I'm like, I'm doing this. Like it was just, this is what I'm doing. I'm not maybe doing it, and I'm doing it right this second. I'm not doing it tomorrow morning. I'm not waiting until after the holidays. I don't care about what my anxiety in my chest is feeling. This is what I'm doing. And there's been a few times in my life where I've made decisions like that. And those are the ones that stick. You commented on the guitar behind me. I didn't have the same resolve when you mentioned that guitar behind me, that is hard, right? It's harder than investing in real estate is playing that guitar. So when you make a decision like that, that's when things really, shift.
So I'm listening to this. If I'm someone on my podcast, I'm going, that sounds really interesting. Look for a discount. But my concern is I don't have the money to buy even the $5,000 piece of property. So how do I get the money for it? Well, how do I financially manage that? Kind of walk us through what are some ways to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few different ways to invest in real estate. There's something called wholesaling, where you're just getting properties under contract and you're selling the contract. Now, a lot of people make the mistake in wholesaling. They sell the contract, they might make $5,000, then they're on to the next deal. Well, that's okay. And it gets you in the game. It's exactly how I started. But I quickly realized that when I would take that deal, I would bring it to someone else that would want to buy the property, and I would partner with them. They would put up the money. Their risk was reduced because they were buying at a discount. I would help them any way I could, and we become partners in these properties. There's a lot of people that have tons of money just sitting around. They want to get into real estate. They don't know how. So it's not all that difficult to find someone that wants to buy a rental house. And if you bring it to them and can become partners, one of the rentals I did, the most recent one, just sold not too long ago. I brought it to them, wholesaled it to them, made like 10 grand. It was their rental property. So they got to keep all the cash flow in the rental property. But then when they sold it, I got a percentage of the property when it sold. Now, that particular seed I planted was like a 15-year seed, maybe longer than that. It was such a long time ago. But you can be very creative in how you partner with people, but you have to bring something to the table. So if you can bring a deal to the table, then you can find kind of the best partner for you. Worst case scenario, you just sell the contract to someone and you say goodbye. But one good partnership really changes absolutely everything in your life. Someone's like, I'll put up you bring me the deals, I'll put up the money, right? That's what I was doing when I was young. And again, I started at 18, 19 years old, no experience. I was just out there, just doing it every day. I wasn't shy when it came to calling people, or I had to knock on doors. Back in my day, we didn't have these fancy cell phones to call people. I actually had to knock on the door of people because I knew that one deal would change my life, my financial future forever. There's an opportunity to make 6 figures on one deal. How long does it take you to make 6 figures? Right? It's
Right.
not easy to do that. So that kind of kept me going. And I was just as enthusiastic after I got 10 no's as I was when I first got started, because you're going to get a lot of no's. No, you're going to hear that a lot. But then one yes, is worth a year of the work that you're doing, not to mention all the tax benefits and leverage you get with owning real estate. So wholesaling and creative partnering. And then there's also creative financing, to where you can buy a property and you can do payments with them and you can find someone else to come up with the money. I would do like a sandwich lease options, to where I'd get a property under contract to lease it from someone or to buy it from someone with seller financing. Then I would find someone that wanted to do the same for me, and they would put down more money than I might have put down $500. They would put down $5,000. My purchase price might have been 130. Their purchase price is 180. And then I'd make $200-300 a month off that property managing it. So, I mean, there is definitely a way. If you don't have money, you need time and hustle, right? If you have no money and no time, very, very challenging. I'm not going to lie. I had a lot of time and no money, which is why I was able to go out there and kind of do it. You need at least 90 minutes a day to kind of get things going. And it's really important also to have other people around you that are doing it. Like I said earlier, the competition. There was another kid in my town who was my age, who was out there hustling. And I didn't want him to beat me to that deal. I got up early. We became good friends. We're still friends now. We wound up partnering together and owning like half of those properties I talked about together. But it just gave me a little bit more fire to kind of get going. So it's, you have to have that fuel in your tank, because it's gonna suck for a while. You have to find the lessons you have to find the positivity in every negative circumstance. And then there's no such thing as a negative circumstance. You can kind of, keep moving forward. Yeah.
With the invention of the internet, probably before you started, it's probably a little easier to find maybe some of those properties. What are some sites or locate places I can go to maybe find some of these discount properties? Or is
Mhm.
it just going house to house? And just tell us kind of what the process is for finding the properties.
Yeah, yeah. No, there's a lot of guerrilla style marketing you can do locally. A lot of referrals, a lot of talking to people, telling people you're looking to buy real estate. Some of my first few deals, people just told me about. I'm like, oh, okay, right. Um, so there's a lot of like on the ground guerrilla marketing. One of the tactics that I used to use is if I saw a house, and I am not telling anyone to do this because I don't know if there's any code violations here. But if I saw a house that looked like it needed to be bought by an investor, and I assume you can probably visualize that type of house in your neighborhood, right? And it was vacant. There was no one in it. I would literally put a sign in the yard that said investor special for sale with my phone number. And I didn't own the house, but I'd get phone calls from people that wanted to buy the house. And I'd say, great, we're still working out some details. I'll give you a call when it's ready. And I'd write all their names down. Then I would inevitably get the call from the person who owns the house, and they'd say, what in the heck are you doing? Why is this sign in my yard? And I'd say, oh my gosh, I'm so happy you called. I've been trying to get in touch with you. Um, I would really like to buy your house. And then after a little bit of back and forth, I'd get them to be like, well, yeah, I would like to sell. And I'd say, great. Then I already had my list of people that wanted to buy it. And then I had I had the person that was willing to sell it. And that only had to work one time for me to make 20, 30 grand. And that's how, even in today's world, going kind of analog, going guerrilla marketing like that is sometimes better than the next type of investing that you can do that I'll tell you about, which is more virtual. You can use sites like connectedinvestors.com. That was the site that I built and sold to First American. Um, they do title for 1 out of every 3 houses. But that platform I built essentially shows every single type of motivated seller or person that might be willing to sell at a discount, all on one beautiful Airbnb user interface. So you can just scroll through and find all the vacant houses. You can find all the foreclosures. You can find everyone who hasn't paid their taxes and lives out of town, people who have inherited properties, people whose properties are going to the bank. Anything you've ever heard about or read about can be found through this piece of software. And then you can create your list, and right in the software, you can see their phone number and email address. That phone number and email address is probably right. Now that I'm not with the company, I could say 15% of the time, right? But
Okay.
it's free. You just boom, 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 pick up. If one's wrong, okay, this one's wrong, which means no one has their uh, phone number and email. So I'm going to go put a sign in this yard, right? This one's right. Great. You talk to them. They tell you to go pound pavement, right? Which people might because they're stressed out and they got you calling them.
Right.
Um, so there's the software element like Connected Investors. And then there's just the driving around, having a bunch of, you know, for sale signs in your car that you put on properties that look like they need to be bought, going to a Google Voice number so you can, collect them all, and just working it. So there's all sorts of creative ways. If you get good at the virtual way, you can do it anywhere, in and out of your own backyard. Most people, that is that is very scary to them, right? To buy a property in Tampa, Florida when they live in, Montana or something like that. You don't know the
Right.
area, right? It's a little different. It's harder to partner with people. There are challenges, but there's a lot of people that have been very successful with that strategy that we used to teach and coach. Um, so yeah, so I just wanted to give you some on the ground stuff and some virtual stuff you can do. But if you don't have time to drive around, nothing's stopping you from keeping some signs in your trunk. And if you have a few hours a day, you can make some phone calls and, and find someone.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I hadn't thought of
Yeah.
any of those ideas before. That's really helpful.
Yeah. I love sharing.
Good. I'm curious. You seem very driven. Um, so tell me in the Simon Sinek kind of way, what's your why?
That is, it's funny. I love providing like homes for people, like, and secure. I kind of deep dove. I did a deep dive into that. Spoke with a lot of different people with a lot of different backgrounds, um, and just I want people to feel safe in their homes. Like when I sold my company, I bought some of my family houses. I've always been house oriented. I have a charity now to where we help people save their homes. It's savinghomes.org. So I don't know why that's such a crazy driver of mine, but I just think that everything starts with a home. It all starts with a safe place to come back to and regather your thoughts. And, if you take two families, Keith, one that owns a home and one that doesn't, and you fast forward 30 years, the one that owns the home has it paid off. They have options. They can take equity lines out. The one that has been renting their whole lives, at some point, the burden's going to fall on their kids to take care of them. Like it's just the bills never stop. So I just try to grab people by the shoulders and shake them, which is why I'm so happy my brother is finally buying a house. I've been pushing on him as gently as I can for a long time, and he's finally doing it. But yeah, I just want to help people find a safe, secure spot. Um, yeah, to call home.
Yeah, no, that's great. So tell us more about your charity, Saving Homes. You kind of mentioned it, but tell us exactly what your goal is, your vision is for saving
Yeah,
homes.
yeah. Well, I got my start in real estate, kind of knocking on doors to people that were in financial distress, trying to find a good house to buy. I would smell the dinner on the table. I would see the stress in their eyes. And I always wished I could just help them in kind of a different way. So after I sold my company and I was kind of, you know, I was able to retire several generations of my family. I wanted to give back. So Saving Homes helps individuals that are on the verge of losing their homes, save them through very simple but clever practices. The same way that I was buying and flipping real estate when I first started, I'm now using a version of that to help people save their homes. Now, when I looked at what I could do with my influence and my money, I have a lot of influence in real estate. I know real estate. So, what Saving Homes does is unique in the fact that every time we save a home, the money that we use to save that home comes back to Saving Homes eventually. So when I made a huge donation to Saving Homes, I got excited because I knew that donation was going to help, you know, dozens of people and then help another few dozen and another few dozen. And it was going to echo throughout generations. And as someone who gives to charity, I like to know that my money is being well used. So Saving Homes helps people avoid foreclosure is the first spot that we're starting. Once their home is stable in the future, when it is sold or refinanced, no pressure, the money that Saving Homes gave them comes back to Saving Homes. No interest, nothing. It's just you need 10 grand, here's 10 grand. We give them financial counseling and mentoring to help make sure they don't make that same mistake. But we want to make sure that the home stays with the family. It's probably the best asset they're ever going to have. They probably have an interest rate, at 3% that they're never going to get again. So we want to make sure to save that home. And, yes, there's people fall into foreclosure for all sorts of different reasons, but the number one reason is an unforeseen medical bill. It's not if any of us are going to have a medical issue, it's just when. And then how big of a hit is it going to be? And we try to focus on homes that have children in it. just to make sure that the kids can stay in their home. They don't have to lose their neighbor who's their best friends. They don't have to change school districts. Rentals are more expensive than the house they're in. So they don't have to move in with a friend and give away their dog. And it's just the ripple effect is horrible. And there's a lot of studies from the last big foreclosure wave, and just the mental health, the spousal abuse, the substance abuse that happens when people kind of get ripped from their homes is, almost always 100%. It's just,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's the start of a domino of a lot of really bad things. So even if we can just save their home for a little while, we'll help them not get taken advantage of by investors. Make sure if they do have to sell, they're going to get as much as possible and they can find an ethical landlord. So we're just trying to, help a family one at a time. Just like all I needed was one deal back when I was just starting. This is a big mission, but all I need to do is help one family, just the next family. And we've been gathering and building the team. We helped our first. We're helping. We've identified and helping our first family this month. I hope before the end of the year. But 2024 is the kickoff. And Keith, what's great is, I've started a lot of businesses, and to get people to help or to make an introduction when you have a business or share it or do anything positive, you have to be like best friends with the person or do something with them. But with this nonprofit, everyone just wants to figure out a way to help. They want to either donate a few bucks, or they want to make an introduction, or they want to share it on their social media. So before I was like climbing and fighting up the ladder, I feel like I'm getting like pushed up. And yeah, it's really nice to be able to help and give back. To give back. People also donate Saving Homes houses. When I say people, I mean I am the only one so far. I donated a house into Saving Homes for us to give to a family, and that feels really good. And there's a lot of tax benefits of donating houses. So if you have one you'd like to donate, please, please visit savinghomes.org. We're looking for volunteers. And the cool thing is, when you see how we save homes, it's the same way that you invest in real estate. You're just making just all the money is going back into the family instead of into the pockets of real estate investors, into the future generations of that family. So you get to be part of the real estate transactions, see how they happen, and just help a really a good cause. So, anything anyone can do, I'd really appreciate that. That's why I'm on these podcasts, just for these short little, conversations about savinghomes.org.
So, Ross, I'm always curious for my guests. What do you want your legacy to be?
Yeah, I think I really just described it. If I'm able to raise, 100 million for this charity, that 100 million will keep recycling into infinity, and then we'll just be helping people save homes, getting people into homes for a long, long beyond, my short little existence here. And, Keith, I feel very blessed that I was able to do so well in real estate. And then we didn't even talk about the tech company, but Connected Investors is my company. And to have a huge exit on a self-funded company from a BMX rider that was completely broke, and to do it at 40, I spent the first 40 years, getting myself and my family's head above water. Now I'm doing the next 40 years is to help everyone else. It's a huge sense of responsibility, I feel. I threaded a lot of needles. I worked hard, but I also got really lucky. And I feel like I did, because I'm going to be a good steward of that good fortune and give back in a way that keeps giving back. And that's what really fires me up. I'm like, all right, Ross, just really push as hard as you can for the next 5 years, 10 years. And then the echo effects of positivity will last for a very long time.
Anything I haven't asked you that I should have asked you?
I love that question. Yeah, no, not necessarily. I hope that the people that watch this just really take away that real estate investing is, you can find a way. It's not going to be easy. Um, and just really remembering, how you do anything is how you do everything. The way I got good at BMX was I found the best, surrounded myself with those people. The way I got good at real estate, the same way. The way I got good at tech, the same way. The way that I'm getting into the charity is the same way. So it's really important to surround yourself with people, especially in this digital age. Um, it's been very interesting to change that and to keep some of the old, at the same time. So there is a path forward for you from wherever you are to wherever you want to be. You're going to be tested. You are going to be challenged. Enjoy those challenges, because that's why we're here, to go through those challenges. The result, I've been broke and I've been ridiculously wealthy, and I'm still the same person inside. So, money doesn't solve it. Your perspective will solve a lot of what you have going on, that you're pushing through, more than anything else.
That's awesome, Ross. Where
Yeah.
can people find you and connect with you on social media?
You know, I had to disconnect from social media for a little while, just to kind of recenter myself. But the best way to connect with me, I can actually, what I'll do is, I used to sell a lot of courses and books on how to invest in real estate and the proper habits of a successful entrepreneur. When I sold my company, I'm not allowed to sell information anymore, but I am allowed to give it away.
Oh,
So
cool.
all the stuff I used to sell, I'll give away. You can just email me. You don't have to. You can send me a note and say, "Hey Ross, whatever." But you can just say, "Send me the stuff if you want." And then I'll send you back links to all the stuff I used to sell. So if you want to learn how to invest in real estate, if you want to get books, I wrote the book, The Inside Guide to Funding Real Estate Investments, that has, all of the principles that I used. And, you know, it's funny. I used checks as bookmarks. These are just rental. These are just rental checks. These are just the checks that come in every month, whether I get up or not. That one's $2,600. That one $250. This one's $3. This one's my book royalty.
Oh,
$3.
okay.
See how good my book is selling.
There you
If,
go.
if you want to be rich, don't write a book. Buy real estate. $3 a month, Keith. That's gonna keep me going right there. I'll tell you that much.
Well, I know my book royalty was $26 for 3 months. So you go.
Oh, good job. Good job. No, but yeah, but my email address, maybe put it in the show notes, but it's Ross at successcap.com. That's the one I have set up for this. Ross at successcap.com. Shoot me over an email. I'll shoot you back everything. But you can also visit the website, savinghomes.org. If nothing else, just go there to scroll around, just to get the site a little bit of traffic. It helps. Learn a little bit, reach out. All those forms are going to me direct. So I will get back in the order in which messages are received.
Well, Ross, thanks so much for spending the time and giving us some real good insights. Because I think my hope is that people who are looking to create for themselves and for their families a generation of they can pass down to their kids and grandkids, this is how you can do it. So I'm so glad you come on and give us some insights about real estate.
Yeah, hopefully we built some bridges today, right? Thanks for
That's
having
right.
me.
That's where we go.